It took me about a year to figure out why I'm so miserable despite having a really good job and being what most people would consider set for the rest of my life. Just keep working, contribute to your 401k, and you'll be able to retire by 60 years old with $10 million. I'm going to be sharing my experience of the normal 9 to 5 and explain to you guys why it is just simply not enough anymore in 2026, and you need to be actively pushing for more and searching for more, and going into how to use your 9 to 5 as a tool to help you ultimately escape your 9 to 5, which, let's be honest, is pretty much what I'm trying to have everybody witness right now. For me, it's between YouTube and a service-based business, and I'll go more into detail on both of those. But the problem with these 9 to 5s and just having that be absolutely it is that is as good as it gets. When you get that promotion, I guess you could say, in your job and in your lifestyle, when you go from making $15 an hour to something like $30, $40, or $50 an hour, it is unreal. And it is probably one of the best feelings ever, because chances are you either went to college and got a solid job, which probably not actually, but regardless, just use this because some people do get good jobs, or you learned a skill set, and that skill set is able to pay you more for the work that you're able to do. Now, that was the case for me. I got a trade, and right out of high school at 19 years old, I was able to make $80,000 a year. And trust me, when I turned 19, it was awesome because it was such a major improvement. I was making $9 an hour before that. So to go from $9 an hour to like $40 an hour was a huge difference in my life. I moved up to Phoenix. I got my first apartment, and I was absolutely loving it. It was about a year in, and then I realized this is as good as it gets. There's no more growth. I could see people that are 60 years old telling me how set I'm going to be and how good this job is. And in my head, I'm thinking, then why are you still working here if it's that good of a job? And I guess that's really the main point of these corporations, is to have you in the golden handcuffs where you're making above average compared to, let's say, a fast food worker, but not quite good enough to where you can really do things completely on your own terms. And it really is as good as it gets, because as more time goes on, we know inflation is what they say 2 to 3% a year. It seems like it's more 7 to 10% a year. And I feel like that is pretty accurate. There are so many people, even at my current job, that are making between $80,000 to $100,000 a year that are actually broke. And partially, I would say majority of that is their spending habits, but really you can't just be one man and afford a wife and multiple children, cars, and a house on that salary anymore. In the 50s, 60s, and even 70s, that was the case. You actually could do that. You could have one job, a wife that stays at home, you go and work your 40 hours a week, you had vacation time, you had 2 paid off cars, you had a house, and life was good. Life was peak. And now we're starting to see in society that it's kind of going the opposite way. When we got inflation that's going completely out of control, you need your wife to be working in the labor market, and your kids are at school all day, and everything is just absolutely a mess. So for me, it was when I turned exactly 20 years old, that's when I felt the overwhelming sense of pressure that I had to do something, because just staying here was not going to be enough. The 60-year-old telling me that I was set for life, I wasn't buying it. And there's tons and tons and tons of people out there that aren't buying it as well. I mean, that's why you have so many young people trying to do something, because it's actually the least risky thing you can do. Like, you can just keep working at your 9 to 5 and you kind of already know where that road goes down. You know, you kind of are set, but not in the way that you want to be. You don't want just the mundane, zero growth, dead end 9 to 5 job. And especially if you're on social media at all, you can see all the opportunity that's out there. It kind of makes you feel like a loser, and you're not a loser just for having your 9 to 5. In fact, it is a great thing for the stability, for the peace of mind, but you have to be actively trying to do something else. For me, that was starting a pool business, and I'm only up to $1,200 a month, so I'm not balling by any means, but it is actually pretty significant. After taxes for my 9 to 5, I'm making about $7,000 per month, and while that is amazing and I'm able to invest a good chunk of that extra $1,200 a month is all 100% investing, minus the cost of my business that I got to run, which might come out to like $100 bucks a month or $200 a month during the summer, and summertime does eat through a lot of the products that I got to use. Now, with all that being said, that's not any sort of push to say, oh yeah, just quit your 9 to 5 and just go all in, bro. Just go all in, because you're going to make it. You see that all over social media, and that does work for some people, but the people that it works for are the people that you're seeing on social media. For majority of people, that's not the case. I actually left my 9 to 5 making the $80,000 a year when I was part-time and went all in on, I guess, doing my own business. I was doing door-to-door sales, and I didn't make it. I had to walk right back into my 9 to 5 after telling people how amazing this opportunity is, how I'm never coming back. And it was a humbling experience, but I also learned a lot. And that was something that I don't regret. That was a risk that I could only take at 20 years old. Even being 23 right now, I'm not able to do that because I have too many responsibilities and I have too many obligations as far as bills go. I would literally be sleepless if that was the case. The whole point of this and what I'm trying to transition into, and my personal experience that I'm looking to share with everybody, is to use your 9 to 5 as a tool. Keep it for the stability. Keep it because you know generally how much money you have coming in. I'm on a tip-based 9 to 5, so mine does fluctuate a little bit, but I have a general rough idea after doing it for 3 years how much I'm going to be making. And with that said income, obviously you want to be investing quite a bit of it, and I'm going to have a lot of videos on investing, but the main thing is really being able to have control of your time. If you're working 40 hours a week, that's a pretty healthy amount. If you're in your early 20s, which I would go out on a limb and say you're in your 20s, your 30s, you have the extra time. I would say if you have kids, I can't really give you advice because I don't know what that's like. I don't have any kids right now. I don't know what the time obligations are. But regardless, if you are a young man in your early 20s and you don't have any kids right now, I would say use your 9 to 5 as a tool. Get your hours done, and then in your free time and in your downtime, you want to be absolutely focused on building systems outside of that 9 to 5 and partially using your 9 to 5 to fund that risk taking. So do what you can and build up to where you have a good 9 to 5 where you're making the $30, $40, $50 an hour. And that can be through learning a skill. That's what I would recommend, instead of going to college for 4 years and coming out, and half these people coming out of college don't even make that much. It's really, really frustrating and really sad, because growing up, I did want to go to college. I wanted to go to ASU. Seeing what was on the other side of getting that degree was actually really eye-opening and heartbreaking. The old playbook just doesn't work anymore. So if you have to get that promotion, or you have to take a career change, or you have to move around, get your 9 to 5 to where you have a bit of an extra wiggle room with that cash coming in, and then you'll be able to think a little bit more clearly once your head is above water. Use that extra income to fund whether you have to make a purchase to get that next thing started. But as far as the business goes, you can start it for very minimal capital. The big thing that you have and that I have is time on our side. We have the time and not essentially the money. Put that extra time into trying something, into doing something, and if you waste 2 months trying to do something, well, you still learned all those skills that were required for that, and you also learned how to work harder. That's a big thing that I don't think people know how to do. People want to work an hour or two extra per week and then they expect results, and that's just not the reality. That's not what's ever going to happen. You're going to get 1 to 2 hours of results. So for you, whether that is starting something online on social media, it's starting something in real life, maybe it's both, whatever it is, I would say pick one thing that you're really trying to go hard on. For me, it is pools. It's a service-based business, and then maybe one side project that's kind of fun, and I'm just kind of sharing my experience on this and seeing where it goes. Don't just rely on your 9 to 5 because you know where that road leads, and if you don't know where it leads, then you can look at where it's going. Look at the older people in your job, and a lot of these traditional routes with just through a 9 to 5 job are not going to give you the life that you actually want. They're going to give you the mediocre life. You're going to be always okay. You're going to be being able to set a little bit of money aside, but you're going to be working forever. I mean, you're going to be working till your 50s or your 60s. And there's nothing wrong with that if you're okay with that. If you have a fulfilling career, if you have the ability to, move up and earn some extra income. A lot of us are at dead-end 9 to 5 jobs. A lot of us will have AI come and replace these jobs. And so doing nothing is essentially the riskiest thing you can do when you have all these things working against you. You have the external threat of AI replacing your job, especially like if you're in an office job or a tech job. You can't just sit around and collect a paycheck and think, whoop-de-doo, I'm just gonna work my hours and go through life and my job security will still be the same in 50 years. Another thing too to think about is that you're essentially at the whim of your employer if you want to be able to put food on the table. That's another thing for me that just doesn't sit right, because I know if at right now, if I was let go of this job, whether it is they're overstaffed, whether they want me to inject something in my body, or they just need to do some layoffs for whatever reason, I know I would be one of the first people to go. Being able to just think, oh, it's fine, I can just rely on this forever, is just essentially putting your head in the sand and pretending that something bigger is not going on. You need to be building something for yourself so that you have that full self-accountability to say, okay, well, I know even without this 9 to 5, I can do this. But for the meantime, as you're starting out, max out that 9 to 5, start building a skill set or start building a presence, some sort of thing you got going on, whether it's real life or online, I don't care, but you have to be actively working towards and building something. If you're not, then you're at the risk of that employer. They will let you go. They don't care about you. You are just a badge number to them. And it just simply won't be enough, guys, especially if you're in your early 20s. You know that you're capable of way more and that you can do way more. So we get one shot. Why would you not try to max it out? That's going to be all I got for you guys today. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe and be self-reliant. Don't rely on anybody else except for yourself, and keep building something during this time, especially because there's so much opportunity out there. You just have to want it bad enough and you have to go get it.